Hey, so I kind of feel like Garrett Watts right now because I'm coming at you as present day Kristen to explain what you're about to watch. So I've talked in previous writing vlogs about how sometimes I try to start filming a writing vlog and then because I never end up actually writing, the vlog never sees the light of day. And I've done that twice within the last 4 months or so. Normally these vlogs just wouldn't see the light of day. I just wouldn't upload them, I wouldn't edit them, I'd just leave them on my phone or my computer forever. However, each of these vlogs had their own individual moments where I sat down and was very honest with myself and very real with myself, and these were moments that I didn't want to just leave forgotten forever. And not in a motivational speaker sense, I want to help other writers because I'm a total mess and I'm still a total mess, but more in the sense that a lot of the things that I felt like I was very honest with myself about are problems that a lot of other aspiring writers have as they're trying to wade through their thoughts and get words on the page. So I kind of just wanted to still post those discussions that I had with myself and my phone. So that's what this video is. So this video is going to cut back and forth between clips from each of those two vlogs at different points within the past 4 or 5 months as I try to explain my mindset while writing. So as seems to have become a common theme for me, over the past several months, I have started filming multiple different writing vlogs with the best intentions to finally write and to get work done, and then I never end up finishing them or editing them or posting them or writing because something breaks down somewhere. Like kind of everything else in life, my motivation to write comes in spurts. Some days I wake up and I'm really, really inspired and excited to write, and some days I don't even think about it. Not that I don't want to write, it's just that I don't even consider writing because it's not where my mind is at right then. And because of that, no matter how many times I've sat here or in my chair at my desk and filmed a video being I'm gonna finally start writing, I just keep not fulfilling these promises that I give myself to actually write because I am basing everything on my motivation to do so. I found myself often watching a lot of these videos about how to be more organized with the things that you want to do in your life and how to make your goals a reality. And in the end, a lot of it ends up just being ways to procrastinate actually working on anything. But one thing that these videos have actually helped me with is to kind of solidify what my personal goals are for the next several years. Outside of work stuff, what stuff do I really want to accomplish over the next few years, before I turn 30 or something, because I'm 25 right now. And those two major life goals for me are, one, to become fluent in Korean because it's something that I've really grown to love and it's a language that I'm very interested in, and I want to become bilingual in general, so that's number one. And goal number two, of course, is to publish a novel. Now, the actual publication of it, not totally within my hands. That's something that I can't completely control, but everything leading up to it is. Maybe actually writing it and actually finishing a draft and editing that draft. Things that I haven't done in a few years, or at least not done to completion, which is what's important here. And yes, both of these goals are big things. They're not things that can happen overnight. They're not even things that can happen over the course of 1 or 2 years. They're big overall goals, but they're the things that I've identified as the things that I most want to work toward. Between everything else that I'm doing in my life, between the things that I enjoy, these are the two things that are the most important to me that I want to do. But they also end up being the two things that I most easily let fall to the wayside or don't do because I'm not in the mood to do it. I really don't want to study Korean today, so let's just put it off till tomorrow. Let's not do it today. Oh, I'm not in the mood to write today. Let's just put it off till tomorrow. These things that I've identified as really important to me are also the easiest ones to not be motivated to do because I'm not in the mood for it, because it takes effort and it takes work, and sometimes I just want to not do anything. And yes, I think that it's very important to have times when I just turn my brain off and relax, but it's not something that I can do consistently and expect myself to still complete these goals that are important to me that I've said are important to me. And the thing that I don't want to admit to myself, but I really need to, is that, you know what, sometimes I'm not in the mood for something, but I need to do it anyway. Because yeah, this isn't my job. I'm not gonna be fired if I don't do something. It's not gonna be really a negative in the short term if I don't do something, but it's gonna be a negative in the long term. I'm not gonna reach my goal. And that's very easy to forget when you're a little bit tired and lazy and you just want to watch YouTube. As is very evident from this whole discussion and me overall as a person, I like planning things, but I'm very bad with the follow through. I can be very impulsive and very mood driven. I'm very bad at forcing myself to do things that I'm not in the mood to do and I don't want to do unless something bad is going to happen. That's how I got through the entirety of school. I procrastinated until I knew that this was the last chance to actually do it before I wouldn't have enough time to finish something. Every major project that I didn't want to do was like that. And yeah, it got me through high school and a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, but it's not an efficient way to do things. And it's also not a way to do things when you don't have set deadlines. When I don't have a specific deadline, I can't force myself to do things I don't want to do, which also makes it hard for me to set goals for myself because nothing bad's going to happen if I don't complete the goal. I just won't have completed the goal. And I've done that 1,000 times. So it doesn't make me feel bad. It didn't happen. And giving myself rewards as motivation is also a bit tricky because if I think about it, I could just get it anyway, even if I don't do the thing. This is how my brain works. My brain goes through 1,000 loopholes to try and get what I want and be lazy. So here I am trying all these different gimmicks to try and get myself to do something and get myself motivated to do things. And in the end, they all fail because I'm basing everything on whether or not I'm in the mood to do something. And that essentially leaves me with one option, which is to just do it. It sounds so easy, but it's so hard to make my brain do things. So I've tried to do all these gimmicky things and I've tried to motivate myself by different means, by vlogging like I am now. But in the end, the only option for me is just to grow up, be an adult about it, and just do it. To get myself into a habit where I'm writing every day, no matter what, no excuses, I just do it. There's a writing vlog that I started filming maybe a month ago that I think I still want to complete and post because it really details a lot of the problems that I've been having when it comes to motivation to write lately. But in that video, I talked about trying to start over fresh and trying to start new. And I think I'm going to put that aside. I'm just going to give myself free rein on what to actually write. If I want to write one project one day, cool. If I want to work on a different one a different day, cool. I think my main goal here is just to write, even if I'm writing things that are never going to amount to anything. Just do something, write something, make something happen instead of sitting in front of my phone and saying I'm going to do something like I am right now. So over the past several months, I've done a lot of soul searching in terms of what I want to write about. If I ever actually do publish a book, what would I want it to be about? What would I want my voice as a writer to be? And while I don't dislike the projects I've worked on in the past, I really like them. I just feel like at this point in my life, they're not very me. Pretty much every story and story idea that I've worked on over the past several years is an idea that I had in a very basic form a long time ago that I've since revamped and reworked into something different that is more mature and more fleshed out. For example, Flirting with Fame that I won NaNoWriMo with used to be a Jonas Brothers fanfic when I was younger, and then I took that initial idea and expanded on it and made it more of an actual novel. But because all of these projects are expansions on ideas I had a long time ago, I feel like none of these projects are really reflective of what I would write now if I just came up with a new idea for a story that I hadn't worked on at all before. All these projects that I have on the back burner, that I've had on the back burner for years, they're all contemporary YA stories if I were to write them and publish them. But if I were to come up with some totally new, fresh idea out of my own mind today, it wouldn't be anywhere near YA contemporary. Not because I don't like YA contemporary. I don't have a problem with YA contemporary. It's fine, I like it. But that type of like cute high school romance story is not relevant to my life at all right now. Like, it's not the type of idea I would conceive of and want to write at this point in my life. But here I am working on these contemporary projects, and I like them, but they almost feel inauthentic to who I am now. And that's definitely not the correct word, but like, it just feels very not me. And I don't mean this in the sense that I need to write a story about myself, because I don't intend to write a self-insert, even though a lot of first novels are. But what I mean is that like the themes and even the genre just feel very not me. And I think that's part of the problem when it comes to why I haven't been writing a lot lately, because I've been in such a writing mood for such a long time, and yet I still fail to write when I want to. And I keep making these writing vlogs and sometimes not posting them because I make promises that I can never make happen because I keep not writing, because I've boxed myself into these projects that just don't feel very me, even though I like them. Like, pretty much all of my projects that are on the back burner have a romance plotline of some form or fashion, and I just feel like that's not what I want to write about, because A, I don't think that I write it very well, and B, it's just not very me. And I said that in a writing vlog like a couple of years ago when I was working on Flirting with Fame, I think, and I needed to listen to myself. And I'm not saying I'm never gonna return to these ideas ever again, because I don't think that's true, but I just think that for me to get back into the swing of writing, I need to write something that isn't along these same lines of these same stories with these same themes that I've had for years. And I hope you can see where I'm going with this, which is that I want to write something totally new. I want to come up with a new idea and work on it and see where it goes. And not just different from what I've been doing, but like purposely different from everything else I've written. Like, there are certain types of characters that I like to include in pretty much anything I write, because they're like the type of people I like to write about and I would want to be around. So maybe I need to write about characters that are totally different than that, or I need to write a story in a totally different genre with totally different themes. I need to get out of this little writing theme genre bubble that I've gotten myself into over most of my life, and I just need to start something new. In this video, I'm going to start working on a new idea, a fresh concept that I am going to come up with. In my bullet journal, I've been kind of keeping a list of like things that would be cool to put in a story, and I only have a couple things in there right now, but over the next few days, I want to critically think about this and flesh out that list a little bit and see what kind of story I can pull from these little snippets and ideas and themes that I want to write about, and create a story from that. And I know that once again I'm making promises that maybe I'm not gonna keep. Maybe this video won't even get posted, but I want to try, and I really want to write something, and I'm in a writing mood, and I hope that this helps me to actually write. So essentially, after filming that, I started kind of trying to be like, okay, what project do I want to work on today? Like, what do I want to focus on? And the one that immediately jumped out to me is the one that I probably should have been working on this entire time, because it's been exciting to me ever since I kind of rediscovered it. And that is my like fourth project, my project that I haven't written yet, like my extra project. So slight backtrack and explanation. I've talked about several writing projects on this channel, the first of which is the fantasy story that I've been working on for over a decade that I talked about at the beginning of my channel. Then secondly, Flirting with Fame, which I wrote for NaNoWriMo 2016 and won NaNoWriMo 2016 with. And then the third was my Day 6 fanfic that I was writing, I think NaNoWriMo 2017 and also 2018 as well. And those are kind of like the main three that I've talked about on my channel. But I think in my last writing vlog, I, in passing, mentioned a fourth writing project. And this kind of came to the forefront of my mind near the beginning of the year, maybe a little bit earlier, and it's really stuck with me. The long and short of it is that this idea started kind of burrowing its way into my mind near the beginning of the year, and I had been considering working on it, but I wanted to write. I wanted to write on a project, and this one was nowhere near being ready to be written. It needed more outlining and character development, and so I kind of didn't want to work on it because of that. But it's been sitting there in my mind, nagging at me ever since, and when I started thinking about, okay, which project do I want to start on first? That's the one that came to mind. So rather than jumping in and writing something, I have been trying to do some of that development that I needed to do several months ago. Now, to tell you about what I am actually writing. What is this story I'm working on? So I've had a variety of different titles for this as I've written it, and right now I don't really have a solid one. I don't like a lot of the ones that I've used in the past, and the ones that I've come up with lately are not ones that I'm super attached to, but I am going to need a working title to refer to it as when I talk about it. So I think the one I'm gonna go with when talking about it is Garage Band. I know that's obviously not what I can actually name the book because that's a copyrighted name of a program, but let's just talk about it as Garage Band. So as is probably evident by the name that I just threw out, this book centers around a band. The members of the band are all seniors in high school at the beginning of the book, and they are aptly in their garage band phase. And the name of the band that I'm going with for now is Gemini, named as such because the founding members are our main character, who is the only girl in the band, and her twin brother, who is the keyboardist. So the book centers around this band as they begin to compete on this reality competition show that is specifically for bands and groups, and the struggles that they go through on the show, some of the relationship issues within the band, and perhaps even some producer manipulation on the show and how that affects them. It's just a lot of stuff that I really love because I love music and bands and reality competition shows. And like I mentioned last night, I really, really love the characters for the story. I love a lot of the dynamics and relationships between them. So this is one that I'm just kind of very excited about and intrigued by right now. As of right now, I have a pretty clear idea of the general outline of Acts 1 and 2. A lot of the key plot points and the development of certain relationships and that kind of stuff all the way through kind of the darkest moment plot point of the novel, that stuff is mostly figured out in a very broad and general sense. What's not figured out is where I go from there. I've got a cluster of ideas and things that I want to happen in Act 3, but I'm not sure how to lay those out yet. So I have very broad, general, sweeping outline ideas in my head for the vast majority of the book, but it's only fairly well structured for the first two acts. The third one is a little bit of a jumbled mess, and so I'm probably going to have to figure that out as I start writing. So I am back with another writing update, and this one is a bit less hopeful than last time, I think, because I am feeling the slightest bit discouraged. So over the past few days, I found myself thinking about the fact that pretty much everything I've written up to this point has taken place within the real world. All of the older ideas that I talked about at the beginning of this video, and I'm wondering if I'm boxing myself in too much, or if I'm limiting myself, or if I'm not thinking outside the box enough when it comes to ideas. And lately I've seen so many upcoming interesting books and TV shows, and they all have these outside of the box ideas, and I feel like maybe I'm limiting myself too much with the ideas that I'm coming up with. And I guess in a way, yes, that means I'm comparing myself to people who already are getting their books published, or have already finished whatever book they're writing, or already have a TV show that's being released. In a way, yes, I'm comparing myself to them and I shouldn't be, but it's less me comparing myself to like the quality of the work, because a lot of these things I haven't seen or watched, they just sound cool, but it's more me comparing like the broadness of their concepts and ideas to what I feel like is almost very like limited within my ideas, if that makes sense. Because like I said, a lot of these ideas that I've come up with and that I've started working on are things that take place within the real world, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I wonder if I'm subconsciously limiting myself by not thinking outside of the real world box. And I don't mean this in the sense of like, I need to write a high fantasy novel that takes place somewhere outside of the world, but rather even something so small as like a horror TV show that looks really, really cool. Like, there are ghosts in that, and I don't believe in ghosts, so that can't exist in the real world. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily I need to go outside of Earth, but rather maybe I'm not thinking outside of the box in terms of what could happen even just in a fictional version of the world. Does that make sense? I think I'm rambling here. And I think it boils down to me wondering if I'm being creative enough. And I know that's stupid and like I shouldn't feel like that, but I do. Because even if you're aware, like, I shouldn't compare myself to other people, I have my own ideas, they're different. Like, when you see really, really cool ideas and concepts for TV shows and books, you're like, why couldn't I have thought of something that cool? I'm clearly not as creative as these people. I never would have thought of that. And like I said, I know I shouldn't be doing this, and yet it's so hard not to. And I think it also really doesn't help that lately the ideas and concepts and stories that have been intriguing me are these like high level, complex, like conceptual things that would be really hard for any writer to get to the level of. Like, these books are massive and complex and they seem so interesting, and then I look at what I'm working on, or like the ideas that I'm coming up with, and they just seem so generic compared to it. And like I've said 1,000 times, I know I shouldn't be comparing myself to these things, and yet I do, and pretty much everyone does. But it is pushing me to try and think more outside of the box. What does that mean? I don't know. The self-doubt is real. I'm overly critical of my writing style all the time. Anytime I read my own stuff, I just don't like it, and maybe that's something I need to get over, and maybe it's actually bad. Like, it's really hard for me to enjoy anything I've written and to look back on anything I've ever written and be like, yeah, I think that's written well. Like, and I'm sure most of it is not written well, but at least some of it probably is, and like, even when I read it, I'm like, nope, that sucks. And I think that's like one of my biggest hurdles in my writing, is that my writing style is cringy to me because it's mine. Like, I can hear my style as I read it, and it's cringy because of that, if that makes sense. Like, I can't tell if I dislike something that I've written because it's actually bad or because it sounds like me and that's cringy to me. And I don't know if that really makes sense, but that's kind of like a thing that I feel anytime I look back and read something I've written in the past. I think part of the problem that I'm running into is I kind of just take writing too seriously sometimes, and I need to not. I need to find a way to not take it as seriously as I do. Like, every time I sit down to write, I look at what I've written before and I'm like, well, this is garbage. And I try and write, and I feel like whatever I write is garbage. And sure, whatever I write, if I want it to be published, is going to have to be edited and fixed and changed and everything along those lines. But there's something to be said about just sitting down and writing and enjoying what you're doing and just having fun writing, which was why I liked writing as a kid and why I wanted to be an author as a kid, because I loved writing. And I think now I just take it so seriously that I can't get anything done because I'm constantly concerned that, oh, I don't think that I like this outline that I have right now. I can't write anything until I finish re-outlining. Oh, I'm not super confident about this outline. Let me just think about it for 3 months while I try to figure out what I want to actually have happen here. It's just a never-ending cycle of me not being content with what I'm making, and therefore just putting it on the back burner and not doing anything. Or more specific to this video, me being like, oh, I'm not content with any of my projects, let's just start something new because this feels very not me. And then feeling the tug to go back to one of those old projects and then being like, no, I'm doing this new thing. I can't focus on the old thing. I'm doing this new thing, but then not working on the new thing because I'm focused on the old thing. And it's just an endless cycle of me being not content with what I'm working on and using that as an excuse to be lazy. Basically, I just need to stop putting so much pressure on myself as far as what I am writing or how good what I'm writing is, or focusing on one project, and I just need to write. But when I was a kid and I first really started loving to write, I didn't have these very strict outlines that I'd come up with. I was a bit more of a pantser. I had ideas in my mind, but I just kind of wrote however I felt like writing, and that's just how the story progressed. And was it messy and not something that could ever be published? Yeah. But I was having fun and I was enjoying it, and maybe I need to stop focusing on how good my writing is or potentially being published someday and just write. Just enjoy writing again. Because I find myself constantly being oh, I want to write something. I want to write. But then when I sit down to do so, I put so much pressure on myself to write well and to follow some outline that I came up with, and I don't know, I just miss how simple it was when I was a kid. It's complicated. It's really hard to try and do something artistic that you are really passionate about and then look at it through a critical, job kind of lens. Not that I look at writing as a job, because obviously I am not a professional writer. I'm just someone sitting in my room writing. But taking an art that I've loved for so long and having to look at it in the sense that I want this to be good for other people and to a quality level that other people will want to buy and that a publisher will want to publish and that will be marketable. Just looking at what I see as an art form that I love in those senses can just be really hard to do. For me, this is just a thing that I love doing, and it's not really a form of self-expression, I guess, but just an art form. It's an art form, and I don't like looking at it through a business lens. But that's what it is. Publishing is a business. Writing is a business. And I don't like looking at it through that lens, even though that's exactly what it is. Being an author, writing books, publishing books, marketing your books, it's a business. And I hate looking at it through that lens. And if I want to eventually publish a book, I have to look at it through that lens. And maybe that's a mindset that I need to have in the future if I still want to publish something, but maybe it's not the one that I need to have now when I'm excited about writing something, because it just puts a damper on everything. I don't know. I don't know what the point of this video even is anymore. I don't know what I'm even doing anymore. All I know is that I think I'm taking writing too seriously as far as trying to put myself into a project and make my writing good. And maybe I need to take it less seriously in that aspect and more seriously in the aspect of just actually sitting down and writing, because it's what I want to do, and yet I'm not doing it because I'm taking the process of writing too seriously, and I need to take the actual writing seriously. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. I'm just taking the wrong aspect too seriously, all the stuff that I don't need to be thinking about until I've actually written something, and I haven't written anything. So I think that's where I'm going to end this. I know this vlog has been an absolute jumbled mess, and that I've been at very different points mentally when I've filmed these different sections throughout the last couple months. That said though, I do still want to post this video because I feel like where I was at the beginning of this vlog, talking about the projects feeling inauthentic and not me, I feel like that is still very real and really exemplifies how I've felt very disconnected from some of the projects that I've talked about on my channel over the past few years. And yeah, maybe I'll find myself returning to one or two of these stories over the next couple weeks or months, but I think that there is still some sort of disconnect there. Like, some of them specifically still feel very not me, and I feel like that's something that I need to like take into account moving forward, but I don't need to let that hinder me from working on whatever I want to at that moment and whatever helps me to actually focus and write at the moment. I don't know. You know, when I was a kid, fall was always my least favorite season. Like, summer is when my birthday is, and winter has all the holidays, and spring has like the sunniness and the good weather, and then there's just fall. But now as an adult, I think that fall is actually my favorite season. Like, there's just something special about the mood and the vibe of fall that no other season has. And maybe that's just me being very hipstery and enjoying my flannels and beanies, but I love fall. Also, fall has Halloween, and no other season can claim Halloween, so I mean, I think that's an automatic win. And I say that to say that the last couple of days have been very, like, gloomy and rainy and cool and overcast, and that type of weather is just like super inspiring to me. Like, maybe it's kind of like the hipster in me, but it makes me want to like curl up with the book and read, and also curl up with my laptop and write. Like, it's just, for some reason, that type of weather is very inspiring to me. Also, last week I was working on something Harry Potter related, and that was like the beginning of September, like about the time people would start going to Hogwarts for the school year. And just like the fall is also very like Harry Potter related to me. I mean, honestly, any time of the year is Harry Potter related to me. But like, it's just, I've been in like the best, most creative mood lately, and I am glad I'm finally capitalizing on that. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Honestly, I am extremely excited for some reason about the idea of like sitting down at my desk to write for like a dedicated amount of time with like a candle burning and with like some ASMR video in the background that has like a crackling fireplace and a rainy day and maybe like a coffee shop aesthetic. I don't know why that is so ingrained into my head, but that's what I want to do. And maybe pairing that ASMR video with like background coffee shop soundtrack kind of music. Not like coffee shop soundtrack as in all-time low coffee shop soundtrack, but like the type of music that would play in a coffee shop, like very laid back. Like, clearly I'm just in a very fall mood, and I want the fall aesthetic as I write, because that is my desired writing aesthetic. Also, last night before I went to bed, I started reading The Anatomy of Story. This is a book that Kat from Katie-tastic has spoken about as like particularly inspiring and helpful to her as a writer, so we'll see if I like it. I feel like I need more writing craft books in my life. I've been using Save the Cat Writes a Novel lately, so like I feel like anytime I read a book that has like story structure or writing craft suggestions, it always gives me inspiration for stuff that I'm working on. This reference might be like super outdated, but I feel like it's fitting given my story is about a reality competition. But TLDR, back in Project Runway 3, a guy was kicked off the show because he was found to be in possession of like pattern making books, which should have been taken away from him at the beginning of the show, and somehow he got them back. So it was a big deal, huge scandal, and when they talked about it on the reunion show, he was trying to make the excuse, oh, I didn't even use these for patterns, but one of the other designers talked about how unfair it was for him to have them, because even if they just so much look at the book and like look at a pattern, it gives them so much inspiration for something to create. And I feel that, like, every time I pick up, like, Save the Cat Writes a Novel, and I read a section about, like, this plot point in a novel, I get so many ideas. So, like, literally just anything about the craft of stories or about writing can really help to inspire me, and that's what I'm hoping that this book does, because I could use some. So here we are at the end, back at present day me, What am I up to now? If I'm being totally honest, I'm still a mess. I still have no idea what I'm doing. I am still currently reading The Anatomy of Story. I've been reading it off and on. Right now, I'm about a quarter of the way through, so I'm making some good progress, and I think that it's really giving me a lot of inspiration for writing. All that said, though, I am currently actively trying to get my thoughts together, get myself collected, so that I can figure out what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm trying to make a list of things I want to include in a story, all my premise ideas, like all of the things that I want to write about and that I have ideas about. I'm just writing them all down. I'm putting them all in Scrivener. I'm just trying to keep all those things together so that I can go through them and come up with some sort of like idea of what I want to actually do and some sort of plan to go forward. And I think that's my plan for the rest of October. I do not plan to film it because I think that I've done enough vlogging over the past few months that it has amounted to absolutely nothing, but I do want to get that planning done throughout October so I can hopefully participate in NaNoWriMo. And what do I plan to write for NaNoWriMo? I don't know. We'll see. That's what October's for. So that is it for this messy vlog. Thank you if you sat through this entire thing. I know it's long because I just edited this. Let me know down in the comments if you are also having some of these struggles as an aspiring writer, because I feel like I need to have people to talk to about this because it's a struggle. And I am going to soon be active again on NaNoWriMo, so I will leave a link down in the description to my NaNoWriMo page so we can be writing buddies on there. Is that what it's called? I can't remember. It's been too long. Also, for some reason, I can't remember my outro for this, so, you know, social media links in the description. Add me on Goodreads. I've been actually reading lately. It's been a good time. So hopefully I will see you soon for NaNoWriMo, or potentially even maybe for a book video. Imagine that. Talking about books on Kristen Books. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.